can't go wrong with something for nothing, especially as a gamer. Even if a free game turns out to be a bit of a damp squib, at least you haven't lost anything but the time taken to download it. Who doesn't remember Microsoft's Christmas crash a few years ago and their free game as an apology? What's that, Microsoft? A free game? We all said. Oh, and it's Undertow. Wow, Microsoft, you are really spoiling us, we said shortly after. What happens from time to time is that a game is released free. That's an oddity. It goes against the grain like a decent video game movie. Spartacus Legends is one of those rarities, a free game that's actually worth playing. It's not a fighter in the same league as Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, how can it be? The developers Kung Fu Factory are hardly a big name studio with a big name studio's budget. What it is a fairly decent fighting game that's had a bit of an RPG injection. Win a fight, get silver, buy upgrades, win more fights. It's quite simple, but what's to stop you from grinding the lower levels until you can buy the best weapons and armour, you say? Well, this is where it gets a tad more RPG-ish. With every win you gain fame, which acts as Spartacus Legends experience. Earn enough fame and you'll level up and unlock bigger, badder guys to fight, but more importantly you'll unlock the ability to buy the bigger, badder weapons to fight them with. Here's the kicker though. Go up against the more famous gladiators too early and you increase the risk of losing your fighter entirely, because Spartacus Legends has the somewhat unique option of permanent death for your fighters. Should you lose the fight and your opposing gladiator has built up enough of the crowd's favour, he'll get the option to finish you off. You can revive your gladiator if he dies, but at an ever increasing cost. Keep dying and soon you'll have no option but to let him go and hope you have another fighter in the roster. It's not entirely one-sided though, because if you're able to dominate an enemy you get to do the same to them. You get a taster of what the game has to offer in the tutorial mode where you play as Spartacus himself. Unlockable fatalities are available later on, but until you get enough silver or gold you can always rely on a good old sword-inflicted amputation. It kills them just as dead. A small amount of silver is always available, even if you lose a fight, but levelling up is what gets you the gold, 1 or 2 coins at the earlier levels, although you can buy huge sums of gold for real money, or Microsoft points for the time being anyway, which is where the dreaded microtransactions come in. I'm not usually a fan of these on console games, that's usually because they're included in games which you have to pay for in the first place, EA. Don't get me wrong, I'm hardly standing on the sidelines cheering on microtransactions in Spartacus Legends, but at least it started off on the right foot. Free to play, with the option to pay to win faster than normal. What it does wrong in this regard is to assume that people are willing to part with vast sums of money. Buy 3,000 gold for 12,000 Microsoft points? That's a bargain. I worked it out and it's nearly £100. However you get your hands on it, gold is used to unlock equipment early, buy the best slaves for your gladiator army, or to buy boosts, which do exactly what they say on the tin, with the added bonus of allowing you to use certain fatalities for a certain number of fights. Be warned though, just because you bought them, doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be able to use them. You still have to build up the crowd's favour first. Don't manage that in any of the fights you have the boost available for, and they're gone. Once you leave your barracks and unlock the second area of town to fight in, you start to notice that the difficulty curve in this game isn't so much a difficulty curve, but more of a difficulty mountain the size of Everest. After taking down 3 or 4 of the non-random named gladiators in the starting arena, you can be forgiven for thinking you're doing quite well. So you go to the market and try your hand there. Maybe knock out a random opponent or 2. All of a sudden you're flailing around button mashing like a 5-year-old as Spartacus' bigger brother dodges your swings, parries your thrusts and plants his foot firmly in your face. And with the lack of a difficulty slider it won't get any better. All you can do is grind yourself enough silver to buy some better weapons and try again. Although once you unlock the third arena and can hold your own there, it does make it a lot easier as the amount of silver you win increases dramatically. Graphically, the characters all look good, aside from a couple of issues, but none of them really look unique. The novelty of permanent death for your fighters is bypassed almost entirely when they appear to have all been copied and pasted from the same generic model with just a few tweaks here and there. Fair enough, they sometimes wear different armour, but at its base we have one gladiator in a sweaty loincloth fighting another gladiator in the same sweaty loincloth. Would it have been too much of a fuss to include some diversity? Or even just a different colour loincloth? The controls, while workable, aren't really as responsive as they need to be either, with the chosen fighter feeling slightly sluggish and at its worst, like you're not even pressing any buttons, leading to some genuine controller throwing frustration when you combine the controls with the difficulty of some of the AI opponents. Overall though, it's a solid attempt. Definitely above average, but led down by some bad decisions in the planning stages, dodgy controls and uninspiring combat mechanics, and some frankly bizarre translations. Also, despite all the warnings, I've not yet managed to do a cock fatality. Spartacus Legends is out now on Xbox Live Arcade for the grand sum of nothing. I'm Ian, and this has been the first of hopefully many FragRaceAndGame reviews.